A couple of weeks ago, I shared with you how I start new garden beds. Now today, I'm going to share a second method I have of starting new garden beds. And this one is great because I actually get to outsource some of the work. And guess who that work goes to? The chickens. Now I can't allow my chickens in my garden during the active growing season. They simply wreak too much havoc, scratching up and eating plants and tearing things apart. They may look sweet and docile, but they're really little savages. But what they can do is help in the formation of new garden beds, as well as a few other useful tasks, which I will share in subsequent videos. Today I wanted to share with you what an outstanding job just 3 members of my flock did in creating a new garden bed for me, and the fancy new accommodations they're getting in return for that work. Now this bed was actually unplanned, and this is the one that my 3 chickens worked up for me. I did have my meat birds penned in a problem corner of the garden with the intent on having them improve that soil, and I will show updates on that area once I have it all planted. But this was a happy accident, and this all came about because of dueling roosters. Now Bob here, who is our oldest rooster, was originally living in the main chicken yard. We decided to expand our egg-laying flock last spring and got 5 additional hens and 1 buff Orpington rooster. Well, one of those 5 hens turned out to be another rooster, and a very aggressive one. By the time he came of age, he took to attacking Bob, and the assaults just kept getting worse and worse. Bob's been such a good rooster for us, protective of his ladies, yet gentle with me and the kids. I couldn't bear just to put him down. So I decided to separate him and 2 of our remaining original hens from the rest of the group. Now, unfortunately, we didn't have another coop at the time, so we had to make do with a makeshift setup for these guys. These 3 were in this enclosure from late last fall until just a week ago. And you can see they made short work of getting rid of every stitch of grass and weeds in this spot. They also contributed lots of fertilizer in the way of chicken poop and scratched up the dirt and ate their share of bugs. So as soon as I was able to get them a new home, I cleaned everything out of this area. And as you can see, I've started on some of the infrastructure already. I've got a couple of trellises up. When this dries out, I'm going to come through with a broad fork, work in a little compost, and my plan is for this to be my new medicinal herb garden area because my dogs unfortunately destroyed basically my last one. Now, one thing to keep in mind with this area is because the chickens have been in here pooping a lot, is that I want to let this rest for a couple of weeks before planting anything. Now, it's going to be a couple of weeks before this all dries out anyway, but I wouldn't want to go into an area that has a lot of hot manure, basically manure that's still fresh and very high in nitrogen, because I would run the risk of burning my plants if I planted directly into this. So to reward these hardworking chickens, I moved them to a brand new Omlet Eglu Coop. They seem to be enjoying it, and I'm really digging some of the features of this coop. Now, my husband and my son put this together on a Sunday afternoon. I believe that I could have done it, but my husband is much, much better at these kind of construction projects, so I let him have at it. But let me show you some of the features that I'm really enjoying with this thing. Now, the first are these handy little wheels that pop up and down easily, making this function essentially like a chicken tractor. And my idea with this is to move these guys around the perimeter of the garden so that they have fresh grass to scratch on each day, and hopefully intercept some of the insect pests that might want to make their way into the garden. Now, we did try to make our own chicken tractor setup a few years back, but it was not nearly as easy to use and move around as this is. Now, Now, when we first started keeping chickens over 10 years ago, our chickens were totally free range, but we very quickly found that we had issues with hawks making an easy meal of our flock. More recently, I've started to notice bald eagles flying overhead, and while it's very, very cool, I'm sure they would not hesitate to enjoy a chicken dinner either. So what's nice about the Eglu is it does have this enclosure, which allows my chickens to be out on the open foraging on the grass, but also be protected from predators. It also has this skirt along the base, which helps to discourage any predators that might want to burrow underneath the coop. Another feature I really like is that this nest box is easily accessible. The kids can now easily gather the eggs. Our other coop is fine, but it's not kid friendly, and the lid is too heavy and tall for the kids to be able to get in and retrieve the eggs. This one is super easy to open and close. And this Eglu requires no maintenance, no painting, no rotting wood, very, very easy to clean. So Bob will be enjoying his retirement over here while Freddie, the other rooster, rules the roost over there. And since these guys did such a good job forming that new bed, I'm very likely going to be utilizing them for some beds up around the house. I'll just move this whole thing up there and allow them to sit on a patch of grass at a time, killing off the grass and weeds, fertilizing and scratching up the soil till I have an entire bed created. Now be sure to stay tuned for my chicken bed updates. And for anyone interested in your own Eglu coop or accessories, be sure to use the link in the video description below and use my promo code GROW10 for 10% off your order anytime between April 1st and November 27th of 2022. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.